Hey Shane, how you doing?
Good. What's up, chap?
When you're back on the practice field Wednesday, I guess it is.
Yeah,
Do you anticipate like Josh Downs and Cross and Goodson being on the practice field? Or are they still in rehab mode?
they're progressing well. We'll work through that tomorrow. I would expect them to be back next week for sure, but they're still working through it. But they're all progressing really well, chap.
But the fact that you've got four or five guys that are sort of, I don't want to say iffy, but doesn't that sort of complicate cutting the roster to 53?
Yeah, a little bit. We're working through that. We got another 24 hours here. We're working through it tonight and tomorrow. Obviously, some tough decisions to be made the next 24 hours, but we'll get it all finalized, myself and Chris and his staff as we go through it.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Jake.
Hey, Coach. Now that you've got Daniel installed as the starter, how much of these next couple weeks is taking what he likes, emphasizing like his strengths and kind of pouring back over the film and seeing what he really did well to kind of make those staples of what you guys do this year?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. With him being the guy now, is going through that operation. Obviously going through the Miami tape, this week and next week with him, what he likes, what he doesn't like. Obviously, catering, around his strengths, like you said, is all part of it. So we'll work through that, having discussions with him right now and tomorrow, and as we go through this week to get that thing wired up.
Joel.
Shane, what have you seen from the second team offensive line through training camp and who are some guys who have stood out to you?
I think they've done a really nice job. Credit to Tony and Watt for what they've done. Obviously, it was on display, in that third preseason game the other day. I thought they ran the ball well up front. The assignments that all those guys had, I think it was really good how they ID'd the fronts, the physicality they played with. Really don't want to single out a certain guy because I think they've all, done a really good job. Working through those roster spots with those second guys here the next 24 hours, but pleased with all those guys.
With Dalton Tucker getting some center reps, just how much have you guys done that with him? And is that just kind of trying to figure out exactly what everybody can do?
Yeah, 100%. I think, with Board in there and then Danny, obviously if something happens to, two of those guys, want to have a backup plan and just, getting guys in there and seeing where he's at. I thought he did a really nice job in there, with the snaps that he had and the shotgun snaps and doing that and the calls and the IDs. I thought he did a really nice job in there on Saturday.
JJ.
Hey Shane, what has maybe stood out to you about Daniel and the way that he runs? Maybe not on scrambles, but on designed runs.
I think he's done a really nice job of those things over his career, out in space. Some of the runs that he does have, he can pop out there, and I think he does a good job of finding, some creases, when he has that, those opportunities. But I think he's averaged a good, chunk carries. His average yards per carry has been pretty good over his career. So I think he's done a really nice job with that. Obviously we'll look into that stuff game plan wise as we go through the season.
I guess with him specifically, when you're able to kind of turn that dial on a week to week basis, what does that do just for game planning, opening things up within the offense?
Yeah, I think it's good when you have another quarterback that can run and make the defense defend all 11 guys instead of 10 guys. Obviously, that's a huge advantage for us offensively. So every game plan week we'll look into that and see if there's opportunities for that.
Kevin.
Shane, you were all about creating an edge during camp. Now that camp is over, do you feel like you did that, and in what ways can you see or not see that?
Well, I think we did absolutely did that. I think the way we practiced during training camp, we had I think over I think it was about 400 more reps than we've had last year compared to this year. And I think just getting those reps and creating those edge and the sudden change opportunities, the long drive drills we did. Like I said, I think it's going to, all these games come down to the fourth quarter, and you got to have an edge in the fourth quarter, and you create that in training camp on how you practice and how you prepare. And I thought our guys attacked it the right way all through training camp, and then finished in the preseason the right way. I was very pleased with that.
And then since you made the QB decision, has Anthony talked with you specifically about, where he is at with his spot within the franchise? Doubts about that, concerns about that, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've had conversations with him. Obviously, he's our backup quarterback right now and still attacking it the right way, coming in, being a pro, getting in here early, taking care of his body, rehab treatment, and then in the QB room, preparing like you're the starter. I think we got a great QB room with really bright minds in there, and everyone kind of ping pongs off each other. And then on the practice field, making sure he's working on his fundamentals and details, running the scout team, making sure that's on point and getting better there. And then obviously when meetings are over, making sure we're watching cut ups, third down, red zone, all those things throughout the week, knowing that, he's one play away from playing.
Jake.
Yeah, throughout camp and the preseason, you're obviously focused on two guys for this spot. But throughout the process, were there any like aha moments with Daniel where like, if we go with this guy, we're gonna be all right? Were there any like moments that really stuck out like that?
Well, I think he made some plays in training camp, some checks, some protection stuff to get us in the right situations, to hit some big plays, that were huge for us. And those things are going to come up in the game, and feel very confident in his abilities, to get us in and out of the right place.
So it's more of like the cerebral part that you saw where you're like, okay, I'm glad he saw that because, that's gonna bail us out a little bit.
Yeah, and then when if something was wrong and he made a mistake, he did a good job of correcting it right away. And when we came back to it, he made it right.
Greg.
Shane, when Jason Bean came here a year ago, the thought was he would try quarterback and then perhaps move to receiver. It's kind of no secret. Maybe I'm 24 hours ahead of myself, but is there been any talk of switching him to receiver if he's back, if he'd like to come back?
We're working through that. I'll say this about Jason Bean. He's done a really nice job for us. Obviously in the preseason games, he showed up. He played really well for us. So we're working through that right now, Greg.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just a couple more here, James.
Shane, obviously football is a team sport, but with Daniel, he's coming here to, I guess, prove something. I would imagine individually as well. So have you picked up on any of that, just as far as him wanting to show like, okay, yeah, things might not have ended or gone the way I wanted to at my last stop, but I still, obviously I'm 28 and I want to be a good quarterback in this league.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a new opportunity for him. And I think the guys, have opened him with open arms since he got here. And he's been working his tail off. And I think, in this league, when sometimes guys move around and they get a new, scenery, it could be very beneficial for him. But like I said, I've liked the way he's worked, the way he's prepared since he's been here since day one. He's been really good working, doing everything right. So it's been good. So I'm excited for his opportunity.
And then one quick follow up. I hear you and other coaches often say like, prepare like you're a pro. What does that look like? And and is the early factor a big part of it? Like getting somewhere early, doing extra early work. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a player. Like,
Yeah.
work the same if you do it at 8 a.m. versus 6 a.m. or how do you view it?
Yeah, I think everyone has the routines, but I kind of hit on it, with what Kevin said. I think, as the quarterback, being in here, going through your routine, whether it's getting in the cold tub, the hot tub, getting your body right, or getting in the film room early, getting a head start on the game plan. I think that's all part of it, all encompassing. And then, when you're in the meetings, being locked in, preparing the right way, taking, meticulous notes, and then going out on the practice field and executing that with your fundamentals and your details, and getting the corrections after practice. And then after practice, watching extra cut-ups, doing all those little things, and going through your process, to be successful.
Andrew.
Shane, with this being your third year, how does this cut down day compare to your previous two? And is it just more challenging based on the makeup of the roster?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think every year's got, its challenges and uniqueness to it. When you're cutting down, it's obviously a tough 2 days, with these guys, because a lot of these guys put in really good work. And when you have to release someone, it could be a new opportunity for them somewhere else. And when you do release them, hopefully you got a chance to get them back on practice squad so you can continue to develop those guys. So obviously a tough time of year, for a lot of guys, that it's part of the business. You got to make some tough decisions. But overall, I thought a lot of the guys, like I said, they worked their tail off. We had a lot of good guys, in camp that did it the right way. So I was just really pleased with the group as a whole this year.
And we'll do last two questions here, Chap and then Kevin.
Shane, we've asked you this before, at least I have, but you guys have worked on the quarterbacks, you've worked on the line and the receivers, and Lou's worked on the defense. with the run game, JT has one carry, which no one expected a lot more. Is it just faith in what you've got on him to know that he'll be ready come September 7th?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, he's been so consistent over his career, just showing up for us when we need a big play and just have all the faith and confidence in him, that he's going to be ready to roll. He got a ton of reps during training camp. So we're really pleased with where he's at. I think, obviously he's a big time player, as you guys know. So I feel really confident, in his abilities going into the season.
Do you still kind of adhere to that throw to score, run to win? Is that still your the way you want to build this?
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's my philosophy. But that can change each week, chap. You know what I mean? You go through game plans and you might say, hey, this might be a game where we need to run it, more than we throw it. If they're giving us a light box or what it may be and how they're playing, on the back end and coverages and how we can attack them. And I always kind of go with, what's working. You know what I mean? If we're throwing it good, why stop throwing it? And if you're running it good, why stop running it? Don't do something, that you don't want to do. That ain't going to work. So I think, we just need to be very meticulous with that week in and week out as we go through our game plans.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Shane, what's Ashton Dulin dealing with? I think he missed a few days last week.
Yeah, he got a concussion in practice, but he's progressing well. He should be ready to roll.